in particular they need to say to me? No? Okay. Okay, can you guys hear me all right? Yes? Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. Today's class is focused on Parsvottanasana. Parsvottanasana. So a pose whose name translates to intense stretch. So it's one of those poses that I think we can either love or we can hate it. And that's kind of where I'm going with it today, is that it's really the attitude of it is being in a place where things are intense without letting yourself fall very strongly into one of those categories of I love it or I hate it, right? Without falling into that category of I just want to get out of it, or I'm, trying to make it easy on myself where I'm not getting any benefit from it. So the intensity of it is exactly, it's like being balanced on a razor blade, or it's being balanced on one very, singular point where if you let yourself mentally go either way, is you lose the benefit of the pose. If you let yourself go physically too much in either direction, you lose the benefit of the pose, right? So it's learning how to be in an intense place, but very calm. Right. So that's the attitude of the pose of watching what your mind does when you're in an intense experience, right? Because it doesn't matter intensity, whether it's something that is physical that's happening or something emotional or something that is out in the world, is when we get into overwhelm, our mind typically does one of two things. It either runs really fast away from whatever it is, or it starts to shut down, right? So being able to stay in that calm place during intense moments, the benefit of this pose, right? As well as being a big hamstring opener, being a big lower back opener, a big everything opener. So find your comfortable seat. Let the eyes close. And just for a moment, let yourself sit with that feeling of what it is to be calm. Because calm might not mean completely relaxed. Calm might have nothing to do with there being a feeling of space in your mind. Calm doesn't have to be associated with there being no pain or no conflict. But calm is that place that we are not in reaction, right? We haven't yet drawn ourselves into an emotional experience in response to what's happening. So can you find that, just that place of saying, I know that I have my reactions and I know that there's this space that is between them. And that's where you start from. So one more breath into that idea, even if it doesn't feel like it's real. Keep looking. And then bring the hands together in front of the heart, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please. And then you're going to stay seated, but just bring your legs straight out in front of you. Good. So right leg's going to stay stretched out straight in front of you. Bend your left knee, bring it in towards your chest, and then bring the bottom of the foot to the inside of the right thigh. Let the knee go wide. Good. So Janu Shirshasana. Nice. So the angle of the toes on that right foot, make sure that they're straight up and down. So this is already, you've got to play a little bit with knowing how to change the rotation of your legs. So if your toes are falling out to the side towards the baby toe, you got to activate that inner thigh, pull it down. If your toes are falling the other way, you got to work a little bit more with your outer thigh. Good. And then inhale the arms up to the sky. Nice. Little twist of your belly towards the right, and then you're bowing straight over that right leg. So walk yourself forward. Good. Dig that right heel down into the floor and pull back. So it might even feel like your knee is popping up a little bit from underneath. If it does, that's okay. And then really work to pull the top of that right thigh back into your pelvis and push your butt back. Good. And again, it's your first pose of the class. So, don't obsess over how loose your hamstrings are or how tight. Good. Dig that heel down, drag back so that there's a feeling of integrating the thigh up into the hip socket. Good. Nice, you guys. One more breath. Let yourself lean forward a little more. Drop the chest. Nice. And then come all the way back up to sit. Good. Take that left knee facing up towards the ceiling, please. Step the left foot over your right thigh. So it crosses over. Good. And then wrap the right arm around the knee. Take your left hand behind you, spinal twist. Good. So you're squeezing that knee in, bringing your belly up towards that thigh. Good. Lean slightly forward so you're towards the front edge of your pelvis. So don't lean onto that back hand. Use the back hand to push the floor away. Good. So you're already starting to get into the length of your spine. And this is huge, right? What stops us in Parsvottanasana is not just the backs of the legs, the hamstring muscle, but it's the connection of that muscle as it goes into our back, right? Because that muscle actually wraps around the back of our pelvis and attaches at the spine. So squeeze in, lift your belly up and twist. Good. Stretching the back. Nice. And then come back to center, please. Unwind that leg. Stretch the left leg straight out in front of you. Good. Bend your right knee in towards your chest, bottom of the foot to the inside of the left leg. Let the knee drop wide. You should still feel equal weight on both sit bones. So that bony part at the base of your pelvis, you should be able to feel that on both sides. Good. And then inhale the arms up. Watch the toes on that left foot, that it's not falling in or out. They're straight up and down. Twist a little bit to your left and then bow over the left leg. Good. So Parsvottanasana is one of these poses where when we're in it, our hips are actually square to the front of our mat. So they're facing straight ahead, toes facing straight ahead. That sounds like that should be the easiest position to be in because it's neutral, right? Feet in neutral. It's actually really difficult for almost everybody to stand in neutral because our hips tend to be oriented, either rotated out or rotated in. Good. So again, it's part of that concept of finding what calm is, finding what equal is, finding what steady is while you're also experiencing something intense. Because it's not just what you're used to, right? It's a key thing, is being calm or being relaxed can't just be attached to what you're used to. Otherwise, we're going to chase it forever. And then we don't change. We don't allow change. Dig that heel down, drag the thigh back and in. Good. Twist a little deeper. Soften a little more. Nice. And then walk yourself back up. Good. Take that right knee to face up towards the ceiling. Cross it over the left thigh. Good. Left arm reaches around to hug that knee in. Right hand reaches back behind you, spinal twist. Good. And again, you're squeezing that knee in. So you're starting to actually imagine that the top of that thigh bone is actually rotating inward, that it's actually spiraling in towards the center of your pelvis. Good. And keep your butt pressing down, belly up to your thigh. Relax your shoulders. Good. Head back. Nice, you guys. So best preparation for Parsvottanasana is actually to start to stretch the hips and outer thighs, because that's what's going to feel a lot of the intensity of the stretch when you're in the pose. Good. Release that twist. Come back to center. Unwind your legs. Good. Scoot forward on your mat. Come onto your back. Yep. Onto your back. Good. And then bring the knees in towards your chest for happy baby. Squeeze the knees in. Good. Separate the feet. Reach for your ankles or your shins. So your knees go wide towards your armpits. Reach for your feet. And then stack your heels on top of your knees. So it's like you're going to walk on the ceiling. Yeah, you got it, Alicia. Lift those feet a little more. Good. Keep your low back anchored down to the floor. Nice. Relax your shoulders here. Again, in this position, you can focus on what your hips are doing, and or you can focus on how much of your spine is finding the floor. I want you to do the second. Focus on how much of your spine is finding the floor. So if your shoulders are hiking up, I want you to adjust yourself so that your shoulders relax. If your tailbone, your butt is curling up off of the floor, your sacrum is curling up off of the floor, I want you to try to adjust yourself, draw below your belly button in, and press down into your lower back. Good. Because again, that's what we're working here, is expanding the space of the length of your spine. Awesome. Squeeze the knees in towards your chest, please. Good. Keep the right knee hugged in. Stretch the left leg straight out in front of you, out on the floor. Good. Squeeze that knee in and push your shin against your knee. That didn't make any sense. Press your shin against your hands, your knee against your hands. Keep your left leg rooted down to the floor. Good, but really push the shin into the hands as the hands hug in. So it's like you're pulling the thigh away from the pelvis. You got it. Nice. And then grab your strap. Either take the strap around the ball of your foot, or again, if you don't have a strap, you can hug behind your thigh. You got it. And then stretch that leg straight up towards the ceiling. Awesome. Again, relaxing the shoulders towards the floor as much as you can. Good. Again, watching the angle of your toes. Nice. So that if you were sitting up, you would say they were facing straight up and down. Good. Try and pull the top of your right thigh down and away from your armpit. So that's going to probably make it feel like your toes turn out to the right a little bit. They're going to turn out towards your shoulder, but move the top of that thigh down, move the top of that hip down. Good. And then try and turn your toes back to straight without letting the hip fly up. Good. Nice, you guys. One more deep breath. And then take the strap into both ends of the strap into your right hand, please. Let that right leg start to go wide out to the right, but keep your left side pelvis rooted down to the floor. So start to take it wide. Good. Keep squeezing your feet towards each other so there's a sense of resistance. Like there's a big rubber band around your ankles. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Scoop that low belly in. Press down into that lower spine. So your left thigh should not be popping up. Your left hip should not be popping up. Good. Left shoulder blade down, down, down. Awesome. Good. Bring the leg all the way back up to center. This is also really important that if you don't add that sense of resistance while you're stretching, it's very easy to stretch in a way that feels like your limbs are no longer connected to the core of your body, right? And that's that feeling we often get of being overstretched or feeling like the stretch is so intense that it's going to hurt something. Take the strap into your left hand, please, both ends. And then start to bring that leg at an angle. So not all the way over into the twist yet. Bring it at an angle up towards your left shoulder. So let the leg cross the body. Good, but bring it at an angle, like you're trying to bring your foot to your upper left shoulder without letting your pelvis twist all the way. Good. Yeah, start with that. And again, resistance. You're pushing your foot against the strap and then try to pull the back of your right hip down to the floor as you reach out through that heel. Good. So you're keeping the back of your pelvis super anchored and you're reaching that leg on the diagonal. Nice. Awesome, you guys. Now let the leg come all the way over. Let the hips rotate over. Good. Full twist. Nice. So both legs are going to go with you. Nice. Relax that right shoulder back and down. Keep the pressure of the foot against the strap. As soon as you let go of that resistance, it's going to feel like just a lot of pull on the leg. And that's not what we want in terms of stretch. We don't want to just feel like we're pulling. So push into the strap and scoop your belly and move your, try and push through the back of your pelvis. Even though you're extending through the leg, push back through your low spine. Good. And then bend that knee, please. The knee that's over top, so that's your right knee. Bend it. Drop the knee all the way down to the floor. Release the strap. Good. Let your hips come all the way over so that that knee rests completely on the floor. So you're in spinal twist with the knee bent. Good. Now stretch your right arm up over your ear. Good. And reach through the whole side body. Let your knee go all the way down to the floor, Joanne. Yeah, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. That's it. And then just breathe through the length of your spine. So it makes no difference here if your shoulder is anywhere close to the floor. Good. And imagine here again that the top of that right hip is pulling down towards your feet, away from your armpit. Awesome. Learning that subtle feeling of being able to pull yourself in two directions and knowing that you're doing it, right? That you're the one that's creating that extension. And so there's a connection. You're moving in two directions, but it's coming from the same source. You're not just being pulled. Good. Come back to center, please. Squeeze that knee in towards your chest. Again, for one more breath, as you squeeze it in, push the shin back against your hands. Root that left thigh down to the floor. So power of your leg. Good. And then go ahead and release that. Take the right leg down to the floor. Pull your left knee in. Nice thing about doing stretching like this on your back is that you can't really argue with the floor, right? The floor tells you where you're curling away or where your spine is not finding length. Squeeze in, push that shin against your hands. Good. It also gives you something to rest against, which is super important. Nice. And then strap around the foot, please, or holding behind the thigh. Extend that left heel up towards the ceiling. Good. So as you're pushing that foot up into the strap, I want you to simultaneously feel like you are pulling that left thigh bone down and in to the floor, down and into your hip socket. Good. And then can you take the top of that thigh, the top of that hip, and rotate it down towards the floor? So it's going to probably turn your toes out towards your left shoulder a little bit when you do that. But then once you've moved the thigh, try and turn the toes back to straight without letting that hip hike up towards your shoulder again. Yeah, you're good where you are, Susan. Good. Pushing up into the strap, pressing down into your lower spine. Don't forget that part. And then both ends of the strap come into your left hand. Good. Keep that right side of your pelvis anchored to the floor. Start to let the left leg go wide. Good. At the same angle too, right? So that inner heel is going to spin up slightly. Good. Inner thigh spins up slightly, but you don't want that hip to hike up towards the armpit. So keep pulling the top of your right thigh down. Good. Move it towards your heel. Squeeze the feet towards each other. Keep that feeling of resistance, that you're not just dropping the legs, but you're really engaging. Good. And the more you engage, not clenching, but engaging, gives the legs more ability to actually stretch and not feel like they're unstable. Good. Come all the way back up to center. Use that low navel. Good. And then start to take the strap into your right hand, please. Good. And again, not the full twist yet. Start to take that leg at an angle towards your upper right shoulder. So it's crossing your torso, but you're trying to keep both sides of your sacrum, both sides of your back pelvis pressing down to the floor. Good. So again, this is your resistance. Left low belly's got to draw in, press back and down, and really pull that leg up at that angle. Might feel very intense already, right? Because it's stretching into that outer thigh and outer hip that for most of us is a tight area. Good. And then let it go into the full twist, please, letting the hips rotate all the way to the side. Keep that leg straight as much as you can. Good. You're still angling it up towards that opposite shoulder, but now you're letting the pelvis rotate all the way over. Good. And then see if you can still pull the top of that left hip down away from your armpit. You can even use your hand to help it do that. Again, this is creating more side body length. It's giving you more access to the actual long muscles of your back while you're twisting. Good. Keep pressing your foot into the strap, scoop your belly, push your butt back in space. So again, you're moving in two directions. It's huge in Parsvottanasana. You're moving in two directions. Sometimes it's referred to as pyramid pose. When you think of a pyramid, well, the weight of that structure, it all goes to one point, right? Stable base, but it all rests in that one point at the top. Good. You got to have multiple directions. Nice. Bend the knee, please. Drop the knee all the way down to the floor. You can release the strap. Good. Let the knee come all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, even if your shoulder comes way high up, and then stretch the left arm up over your ear and breathe through the side body. Good. And no complaints if this side is tighter than the other side. Just let the knee go all the way to the floor. So Alicia, knee to the floor in the twist. So bring the knee across your body. Left knee, yep, all the way over. Even more, even more. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Knee all the way down to the floor. Let it go. Yep, 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 yep. Keep going. Good. The foot doesn't have to be resting on the leg. You can bring it forward a little more. That's it. Nice, you guys. All right, Parsvottanasana is also a long pose. It's a lengthening pose. Even though when we're in it, it might feel like it gets into every place in us that's tight. The idea is that you are constantly lengthening. So get used to that feeling of breathing into all of the length that there is, all of the space that there is. And that helps the mind to get out of that sense that everything is too closed in, everything is too restricted. You breathe into the feeling of space, and space is what your mind will associate itself with. You breathe into restriction, and that is what you will associate yourself with. Good. Come on back to center, please. Squeeze that left knee in towards your chest. Again, as you squeeze it in, press the shin back against your hand so that you have that resistance again. Root that right thigh down to the floor. So it's almost like you're in a lunge, right? That's what you're looking for here. It's almost like you're in a lunge. You're pushing that shin forward and pressing the top of your right leg down to the floor. Good. And then bring both knees in towards your chest. Nice job, you guys. Roll back and forth on your spine. Bring yourself up to sit. Yeah, and then scoot your butt back so your legs are straight out in front of you. Grab your strap again. Good, flex the feet. Strap around both feet, please. And then sitting up nice and straight. So bring yourself so that your shoulders are on top of your hips if you can. Again, if you don't have a full length strap, just do the best that you can. But if you can, start with shoulders right on top of your hips. And then you're using the strap as much length as you need to be able to pull your elbows back so that your elbows are in line with your shoulders. So you don't want to be already forward with your chest before you come into any forward folding. Good. So you're straight up and down, elbows back. Good. Chest wide. Nice. Push your feet against the strap. Balls of the feet press forward. Big toe mounds press forward. Baby toes pull back. Good. Dig your heels down. Nice. Pop your knees up a little bit and then shoot your butt back. Good. Now start to walk your hands forward or lean forward into that forward fold, but keep your shoulders relaxed. Good. So you can walk your hands up the strap if you'd like. Good. But as you come forward, remember you're tilting from your pelvis. So you want to keep that feeling of your heels dig down, even if it means your knees pop up, and then you're lengthening through your back. So push back through the sacrum, push back through the tops of your thighs as you lean forward. Good. Because again, a locked joint in Parsvottanasana is what makes us feel like if we push too hard, we're going to break something. Good. Shoulders relaxed, Joanne. Nice. And then slowly release. Good. Place the strap to the side, please. Cross the ankles, roll forward to hands and knees, come into downward facing dog. Ay, ay, ay. All of that, we haven't even left the floor yet. Pedal your feet, wiggle your hips from side to side. Good. And then steady your heels, please. Nice. Step the right foot forward between the hands. Come into high lunge, inhale both arms to the sky. Good. So that same feeling of squeezing the feet together so you get a little taller, lift a little higher. Good. Nice, you guys. And then take the arms out wide, letter T. Come into spinal twist. So twisting to your right, left hand comes forward, right hand reaches back. Nice. Kick that back thigh a little higher. Good. And again, this is getting into that twist of your spine. So the right hand can find your back thigh, and then lift the left arm up to the sky and reach. Good. Lifting from the front of your pelvis. You got it, Joanne. Nice. Awesome, you guys. Swing the arms forward and up. Come back to arms to the sky. Inhale. Beautiful. And then release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Step your left foot forward just a little bit and then wider to the outside edge of your mat. Drop the heel to 45 degrees and then inhale the arms back up to warrior one. So we shorten the stance a little bit and we widen the feet a little bit. Good. Right knee over right ankle, arms to the sky. So not significantly different than high lunge, but it might feel like it's significantly different, right? So again, we're working with stability with the back heel on the floor. Maybe it feels more stable, but that leg is also rotated. So left hip spins forward. Good. Take your torso forward parallel to the floor so that you can really feel for a moment. Really send that left hip spinning forward. Good. And then pull your inner thigh back, back, back. So you're rooting into that back heel, the baby toe edge of your back foot. Good. Now scoop into your belly. Keep all of that rotation. Take your chest back up to the sky. Again, this is hips facing straight ahead. This should be the easiest position, right? Yeah, but it's not, because to be really, truly forward, we have this subtle twisting that goes on. Awesome. One more breath, you guys. Lift long. Good. And then take your hands back behind you, interlace your fingers at the low spine, shrug your shoulders nice and high, squeeze the upper arms, lengthen your throat, and then bow inside the front thigh. Take the arms up and over any amount. Good. And if that front thigh is getting a little tired being in this lunge position, use your back leg a little more, scoop your belly. Good. And remember that you're practicing intense sensation. So before you even get into the pose, right? Intense sensation. If these big muscles aren't warm, the big stretch of Parsvottanasana won't feel good. Release the hands down to the floor. Good. Spin that left heel up, step back, downward facing dog. So staying calm, becoming aware of your breath, becoming aware of the tendency. What's your favorite reaction? Do you get really riled up? Do you run away or do you shut down? Good. Bend your knees a lot. Cat cow your spine. Good. Keeping the knees bent. Nice. Try to get full range on your spine. So your pelvis is moving and your shoulders are moving. Good, Joanne. Nice, Susan. Awesome, you guys. And then come back to stillness. Stretch the legs back to straight. Beautiful. Come forward to plank pose, upward push-up. Good. Drop your right knee down to the floor underneath your right hip. Good. Take your left heel to flat, so baby toe parallels the back of your mat, and take the left arm to the sky. You're coming into an open twist. Nice. So as you press through the baby toe of that back foot, again, you're aware of this feeling of pressing into that, but also pulling the thigh up into your pelvis. Good. So you're not just extending out through the heel, but you're also pulling up. Beautiful. Take the left arm over your ear, please. Reach long. Good. And then lean forward onto that right hand a little bit more, please. Float the left leg up off the floor, parallel to the floor. So you come into a balance, flexing the foot. And again, as much as you are pressing out through that heel, pull in, pull the thigh up and in. So you really feel it. Bring that left knee in towards your chest. Yeah, forward in towards your chest. Squeeze it in. I know, it's easier to bring it back behind you. And then extend it back to just straight. So not behind your hip, but in line with your hip, back to where you started. Good. Do it one more time. Pull the knee in towards your chest. Squeeze in. As you do that, pull your ribs in so your spine is really supported. Good. And then extend that leg back again without arching into your ribs. Nice. Neutral is a really hard place to find in your body. Good. Release that foot down to the floor. Come back to hands and knees. Nice. Take a child's pose because I'm a nice person. Good. And then come back up to hands and knees, please, and press back to downward facing dog. Nice. Left foot steps forward between the hands, lunge. Inhale the arms up to the sky, high lunge. So shoulders over hips. And again, you're up on the ball of the back foot for this variation. So already you're looking for stability, right? So if the feet are not as wide as our hips are, balancing on that back foot is going to feel like it's really difficult. So Alicia, step your back foot a little wider to the right. Or yep, you got it. And then really turn the toes forward and the heel up. Other way. There you go. Perfect. Yep, you got it. And then bend that front knee a lot. Good. Awesome, you guys. Take the arms out wide, letter T, spinal twist, right hand comes forward, left hand comes back. So you're turning towards that front leg. You got it. Nice. And then if that left hand can find your back thigh, let it touch down to the back thigh, reach the right arm up alongside your ear. So a little bit of a twisting back bend. Front knee is still over the front ankle, so don't lose the lunge. Awesome. Beautiful, you guys. Come all the way back up, arms to the sky. Yep, and then release the hands down to the floor. Now you're moving into warrior one. So step that right foot slightly forward just a little bit and a little bit wider to the right. So the heel comes flat at an angle, 45 degrees. So not totally to the back of your mat, not totally straight forward. And then inhale the arms back up. Good. Outer right hip spinning towards the top of your mat. Good. So you want your hips to be working towards straight ahead. Nice. And then bring your torso forward, parallel to the floor. So again, coming forward gives you a little bit more access to the lower spine. So now really twist that right hip forward. Really send the inner thigh of the right leg up and back. So pull back into that baby toe edge. Pull back into the heel and squeeze your feet towards each other. Good. Now navel to spine. Take your shoulders back up on top of your hips. Don't let your hips fly open again. Keep them moving towards straight ahead. Good. And it's going to feel like a little bit of a push and a pull because there's a spiral happening on that leg. So it might not feel 100% comfortable, but the security comes from moving in two opposing directions equally. Good. Hands behind your low back, interlace the fingers. Good. Shoulders go up, armpits go up. Don't pop the ribs forward. Nice. Then bow inside the front thigh. Hug those upper arms. Maybe you start to straighten them. Maybe you keep them bent. Lengthen your throat. Even if you're not straightening the arms, lengthen your throat. Good. And press into that back foot. If all of your weight is coming forward here, the front leg is going to feel like it's doing a ton of work, and the back leg needs to be working too. Beautiful. Nice, you guys. Awesome. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Spin that back heel up, step back, downward facing dog. Good. Slide forward to plank pose. Nice. Left knee comes down to the floor underneath your left hip. Good. Right heel comes flat to the floor. Baby toe parallels the back of your mat. Take the right arm up to the sky. Again, working not only the rotation of the legs in the pelvis, so this is a little bit more externally rotated hips, but working with that side body length, because if we don't have that, and we don't have that stretch on the outer thigh, Parsvottanasana doesn't just feel intense, it feels excruciating, right? Right arm comes over the ear, reach. Good, and press through the baby toe of that right foot so you feel that the inner thigh of the right leg is actually pulling away from the floor. Maybe that means you push into your left shin a little bit more because, again, you're working with opposition. Good. And then lean forward onto that left hand a little bit more. You can even look at the floor here if that helps the balance. And then lift your right leg up parallel to the floor. Good. Navel to spine. Again, you're pulling that thigh up and into the pelvis so it doesn't just feel like it's dead weight. Good. And then bring the knee forward in towards your chest. Squeeze it in. And as you do, you're pulling your tail back towards your heel. Good. And then extend the legs straight back. Again, without going into a full arch, just straight back. Nice. And then one more time, bring it forward, knee in towards your chest. Squeeze. Good. Keep that hip up, 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 Alicia. That's it. And then extend it back. Nice. You got it. Awesome. And then release that foot down to the floor. Good job, Joanne. You saved it. Back to hands and knees. Knees wide. Child's pose. Good, you guys. Any balance that you don't completely fall on your face out of is a success. Even if you do fall on your face, you can't say it's not a success. But we feel good about it as long as we don't fall on our face. Good. Breathe into the lower back. Awesome. And then bring yourself back up to hands and knees, please. Step back into plank pose again. So upward push up, shoulders over your wrists, extend the legs back. Bring your feet together. You're coming into Vassistasana. It's a variation, so don't worry, you're not holding it for a long time. But roll onto the baby toe edge of your right foot. Good. Right shoulder stacks on the right wrist. Left arm comes to the sky. So you're on the right foot and the right hand. Left arm goes to the sky. You got it. Then you're going to step your top foot. That's your left foot is going to step forward in front of you. Knee bent. Foot flat to the floor. So bend the knee. Yep. So that you can push down into it. Good. And Alicia, if you're a little confused, look at what Steve is doing and maybe you can see a little better. So you just got to turn your feet. Good. Yeah. Turn onto the baby toe of that straight leg. I know it's an awkward position. Good. You guys push into that foot, lift your hips. The rest of you have been there forever. Awesome. And then release the hand, please. Step it back, downward facing dog. Nice. Pedal your feet. It's my favorite if you're sweating. I like to make you sweat. And then soften the heels again. Good. Bring the feet together. Bring the armpits forward again to plank. The other side. So now you're stacking onto the left side. So the left baby toe rotates to the floor. You're turning your hips to the side. Right arm to the sky. You got it. Yep, all the way onto the baby toe. Nice. And then the top foot steps forward, top leg steps forward, knee is bent. You got it. Yep, take that right arm to the sky. Awesome. And you're pushing into the feet, lifting the hips up. Again, side body length. And again, we're playing with the rotation of the legs. So that left leg is long, so you're getting stretched there. Top leg is bent, but as you pull that right hip back, you start to get stretch in that thigh as well. Good. One more breath, heart to the sky. Nice. And then slowly release back to downward facing dog. Good. Awesome, you guys. And then bring the right knee forward and wide for pigeons. So if you want to bring it up into a down dog split, you can, but bring that right knee forward towards your right armpit. Good. Shin crosses the front of your body. Good. Heel towards the opposite hip. Nice. And then sliding the left leg back. Awesome. And then walk yourself forward. Find your, I don't know what this is called, resting pigeon. I was almost going to say supine. That's wrong, because that would be on your back. Good. And again, pigeon is a nice place mentally to play with that edge of what happens when the sensation is intense. So keep your front foot awake. You are pushing down into the floor. So gravity is not just exerting force on you, but you are actually resisting, which is going to keep the muscles of that right leg really engaged, which helps make the stretch feel like it's useful and not just painful. I remember that from pregnancy, my doula reminding me that part of this concept of mindfulness is that if you have an awareness that an experience is meaningful, even if it's painful, then suddenly it becomes much more bearable, right? So if an intense experience, if we have meaning associated with it, whatever that meaning is, we relax a little bit, we can be calm with it. If we find no meaning, we're just in reaction, we're just in panic, then the pain feels so much more intense, feels so much more amplified. And then we just want to escape. So part of this practice, a yoga practice, is the mindfulness of realizing what your reaction is, and also searching for where is that space where maybe there's a meaning that you have for this experience. There's a purpose to this intensity. There's a purpose to something that feels uncomfortable or painful. Good. Walk your hands back up, please. Sit towards that right side of your hip. So sit onto that right hip, swing your left leg around in front of you, and stack the left knee on top of the right. So you're coming into Gomukhasana. So knees stack on top of knees. Good. You should be sitting on your sit bones between your feet. And again, if this position, if the knees can't comfortably stack, then left shin in front of right. Good. Flexing the feet. Awesome. So either bow forward here, or if reaching forward doesn't work for you, keep your hands right behind you, sit tall, and just really work this feeling of trying to send your butt back as you lean the front of your pelvis forward. Good. So the leaning forward is still important. So if you can, try to work that feeling of your pelvis is leaning forward and your butt is pushing back, even if you don't go very far. Nice. Good. And again, the purpose here is to just be opening up outer hip, outer thigh, expanding the lower back so that when we're in that neutral stance, feet facing straight ahead, it doesn't feel so difficult. Awesome. Walk yourself back up if you're folded forward. Unwind your legs, roll forward to hands and knees, and come back to downward facing dog. You do a little fancy transition there if you want. Good. Left leg's coming forward to pigeon. So if you want to take that up to a down dog split first, you're welcome to lift that left leg and then bring the knee forward towards the armpit, out towards the edge of your wrist. Good. And then even here, again, you're setting your pelvis. So that outer right hip, your back hip is what really determines how square your pelvis can get. So bring that back hip around and your front hip will open. If you try to do it from the front, you're going to fight with the angle of the back leg. So work the back hip first. Good. And then walk yourself forward. Find your forward fold. It's my little tip for you. Work with the back leg first. And stay in that mindful place. Front foot is engaged, so it's either flexed or pointed, but you're pushing the shin into the floor. So a little resisting gravity. And that's going to activate the leg all the way up into the hip. And if the hip is activated, then it can handle the sensation much better. Good. There's a protection happening with the joint when the muscles are engaged. When our muscles are not engaged, then we run the risk of maybe pulling on not just the muscle, but connective tissue. We end up, affecting our structure in an unbalanced way, right? Pull on the bones in an unbalanced way. So yoga says we should always physically have opposing forces going on while we're in our poses. So it's becoming aware of what are those opposing forces that are happening right now and where am I balanced between them? So that there's a feeling of calm. Even if it's intense, there's calm because you're aware of, in charge of how those opposing forces are working with each other. And that's the key, is they are working with each other, not against each other. We say opposing, but they're really synergistic. You're working in concert, complementary. Good. Are you breathing into your lower back, or is all of your attention in your upper spine, trying to get away from the feeling in your hips? Good. Take one more breath, drop yourself a little deeper in. And then walk your hands back up, please. Sit towards that left hip, swing your right leg around so you can stack your right knee on top of your left. Good, so both knees should stay bent and the feet are just going to be out wide. Good. Should be able to feel both sit bones on the floor. And again, if stacking the knees doesn't work, right ankle in front or right shin in front of left, flex the feet. Good. And then again, if leaning forward folding is available, go ahead and lean forward. If it isn't, hands can stay on the floor, but still work for that feeling that you are actively pushing your sit bones back and wide and trying to tilt the front of your pelvis forward. Good. So you're lengthening through your lower back. Even just a little bit of a lean is going to, again, increase that stretch, going not just into the back of the legs, but up into the lower spine. And that's what we want to be open. Good. And then what I think is fun about this concept of an intense stretch, a pose that is intense, is that you are in control of how intense you make it. So you can always modify the degree of sensation that your body is tolerating, that your mind is tolerating. Pain doesn't have to be just painful. And if we have that awareness, then suddenly we can handle situations, difficult situations, with much more equanimity. Go ahead, walk yourself back up, please. Nice. Unwind your legs, roll forward onto hands and knees. And come back to downward facing dog. Awesome. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Good. So this is your first Parsvottanasana. Nice. So we say the difference here between this and some of our other orientations, some of our other poses, is that you should not be walking a tightrope here. You should feel like you're walking on railroad tracks. So the feet are wide, right and left, as wide as your hips. Good. Take one more breath where you are, squeezing the feet towards each other. And then bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up to stand. And we will adjust. So I want you to take your hands, so you have your hands at your hips. I want you to actually extend your fingers kind of forward this way with your hands right at that bony part at the front of your pelvis. So find your hip bones, right? The front crest of your pelvis. Good. And then you're going to point your fingers straight ahead as though your fingers are like headlights. So like this way, Steve. Yeah. So I want you to look at that. And then I want you to look at how your feet are placed. Are your feet as wide apart as your hands are? Yeah, if the answer is no, move them so that they are, because this is more representative of how wide your hips are. So don't argue with it. That's just where you are. Good. And then notice if one hand is slightly forward than the other. If that is the case, try to bring the hand that is further back, further forward. So again, that's working with the back hip. Good. So yep, you got it, Alicia. Good. So find that. Lean forward slightly. As you lean forward, shoot your butt back in space. Good. Yeah, so not a full forward fold, just forward enough, just like you did in Warrior One, so that you can draw that right knee, back in space, your right hip back in space. Good. Maybe even bend the right knee. Try that. Bend the right knee a little bit. Reset the pelvis. So draw that right hip back and wide. Send your outer left hip forward with the knee bent. Then start to straighten the right leg again. Yeah. Keep pulling your butt back and then let your hands drop down to the floor or to your blocks. Parsvottanasana, squeeze the feet towards each other. Good. But you want to maintain that much of a, structured position of your feet and your legs. Beautiful. Take one more breath. Good. And then bend that right knee, please. Wiggle your left leg back so you're into a full lunge. So step back a little longer. Nice. Drop the left knee down to the floor. Yep. Move your butt back so your left hip is on top of your left knee, straight on top, and then take your right leg forward to straight. Come up on the heel. Ardha Hanumanasana. Good. Again, watching the toes. If they have a tendency to fall out or fall in, try and find straight up and down. And you're doing the exact same thing here with your pelvis, is that you're trying to draw that left hip slightly forward, pull your right hip slightly back, and you almost want to feel like your navel below your belly button is squeezing in. So those hip points, those bony parts that you felt, are pulling inward. I know your bones aren't going to move a lot, but feel like your navel, your belly muscles are pulling those bones towards each other. Good. And then shoot your butt back, walk your hands forward. Good. Again, tilting the pelvis. So the front of the pelvis moves forward towards your leg. Your sit bones go back and wide. Nice. And I don't care how close you get to the leg. I'm interested in your spine. So keep your spine nice and long. Don't drop the head. Keep the shoulders up and wide. Good. Armpits pulling back. This is just about the lengthening, right? Lengthening the leg, lengthening the spine. Good. Playing with rotation so that your toes are not falling in or out. Awesome. Nice job, you guys. Pull that right heel back so it comes flat. Bring the knee forward over the ankle. Lift your back knee. Come into lunge. Good. Inhale your arms up to the sky. High lunge, because now a bent knee feels fantastic. Good. And then for fun, hands to heart center, please. Prayer twist. Right elbow to the left elbow to the outside of the right knee, because that's the leg you have forward. Good. Yep, you got it, Alicia. Just bring your chest forward so that your elbow is touching the outside of your knee. Yep. And then really push back into that back leg. You got it. Yeah. Press into that foot. You got it. Nice. And then come back to center, arms to the sky. Inhale. Ooh. And then release the hands to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. Good. Pedal your feet. Wiggle your hips from side to side. Good. Then steady the heels, please. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Right foot steps forward just a little bit so both legs can come to straight. Again, blocks under the hands, perfectly great here if you have them. Good. Or anything that you can place your hands on. Nice. So set up your Parsvottanasana the way you are sure you like to do it. Good. Find where there is a feeling of stability or instability. Where is your balance? Where does your body get stuck? Does it feel like there's tightness in your shoulders, in your neck, in your middle back, your lower back, your legs? Where do you feel it? Maybe all of those places. And then hands to your hips, come all the way up to stand. And then consciously reset your pelvis. So hands to those hip points again. Point your fingers forward, look at your headlights. Good. And then adjust. So if your feet are not as wide apart right and left as your hands are, move them so that they are. Your back toes should be facing mostly forward So they might be slightly turned to the side, but they should be facing mostly straight ahead, right? So that back hip, again, spin it forward, lean forward a little bit more and bend your left knee. Good, so that you can really adjust the pelvis, send that right hip forward. Good, pull that left hip back. Watch where your knee is pointing, because that's the other thing we tend to do. We straighten the leg and the knee falls in. So we'll look at where your knee is pointing and then start to straighten that left leg again, pull your butt back. As you pull your butt back to straighten the leg, scoop your belly, squeeze your feet towards each other. So there's that resistance, and then hands can come back down to the floor. Really nice, Joanne. Good, Susan. Good, Kristen. Squeeze the feet. Again, it's a pose about length. So wherever you are feeling your restriction, that's not the point. That's an acknowledgement. Okay, here's somewhere where I am trying to find more length. But don't let your mind get caught up in that feeling of, oh, it's so tight here. Breathe into space. Be aware that you are adding that muscular engagement so that there can be a more easeful release. If not today, tomorrow. Good. Watch that the front knee is not rolling in. Long spine. Awesome. Good, you guys. Bend that left knee again. Please wiggle your right leg back, coming into a longer lunge, and then drop the right knee down to the floor. Good. Move your butt back so your right hip is on top of the right knee. Take the left leg forward to straight up on the heel, Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. And again, watching what the toes want to do. So you're changing the angle of the thigh, watching what the toes are trying to do. Good. And then again, you're digging that heel down, pull back on the thigh. So it's pulling up into the hip socket. Send your right hip, your supporting hip, slightly forward. And then walk yourself straight ahead from your pelvis, tilt. Top of the pelvis moves forward. Sit bones go back. Good. Walking the hands forward so that you can find your whole spine. Try not to round into the shoulders too much. Keep your head up for this variation. Good. Just staying with that feeling of lengthening your spine. You got to keep your navel engaged. The spine doesn't like to do a lot of work if your abdominals are not helping. Good. And sometimes that's what it takes for us to get into these more extended positions, is that the front of the body, the abdominals, the core muscles have to wake up. Good. So if the back feels like there's a weakness, it's not just I have to strengthen my back, it's also where are my core abdominals? Beautiful, you guys. Good. Drag that left heel back again. Bring it back to a lunge. Bring your knee forward and then tuck the back toes. Lift your back knees. So come into high lunge. Left foot is still forward. Inhale the arms to the sky. Good. And then hands to heart center, please. Prayer twist. Right elbow to the outside of the left knee. You got it. Good. Just lean forward a little more, Alicia, so that the elbow finds the knee. That's it. Good. Nice, nice, nice. Good, you guys. Arms back up to the sky. Inhale. Awesome. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Step back, downward facing dog. Nice. And then jump or step your feet to the top of your mat. Good. Hands to your hips, please. Come up to stand. So just because it's interesting to notice, right? So start your Parsvottanasana from here. Step your right foot back behind you. So from standing, step the left foot forward, right leg back. Find that same position. So your feet are far enough apart so that your legs can be straight. And I want it to really be where you're just on the edge of where it's easy to have both feet flat. Should feel like there's a little bit of a attempt to find the edge of how far apart can my feet get before I can't keep my heels flat. Good. Make sure your feet are, again, right and left, as wide as those hip points. So Alicia, step that back foot wider to the right. Good. And turn the foot forward. Turn your hip forward. Nice. So arm variations, right? Typical here. So you can either hold opposite elbows behind your back. You can come into reverse prayer where the palms come together behind your shoulder blades. You can take hands interlaced at your low spine again if you like that variation, but find a variation for your arms. And then again, start to send your butt back, lift your low belly up and back, squeeze your feet towards each other, lean forward. Find that parallel position if you can. Pause there for a moment. Good, squeezing the feet together, but drawing the inner thighs away from each other. Good, narrowing those hip points, those lower abdominals are really working. And then let yourself continue to extend and extend and extend and extend in both directions to bring your head closer towards that front leg or the floor. Awesome. And then slowly come all the way back up. Waha. Really nice, you guys. I know it's hard on the legs, right? Switch sides, please. Step back to the top of your mat. Good, do a little shake. Nice. Good wiggles. And then try the other side, please. Right foot steps forward, left leg steps back. Again, noticing if your stance here feels like it is shorter or longer than what you did when you were stepping forward from down dog. Again, just interesting, right? Our perspective changes. All right, feet as wide as your hips. Do the whole pelvic thing. Back hip spins forward, top hip, front hip spins back. Good, step your feet wider right and left, Alicia. It's just gonna be so much easier. Good, and then turn your hips to face straight ahead. Turn those back toes forward towards the top of your mat. Top of your mat, top of your mat. Good, choose your arm position, please. Good, and then again, begin to start taking your thighs back, taking your butt back. Still squeezing the feet towards each other. Again, like there's a big rubber band around them. So there's that sense of resistance. And you're pulling the thighs up into the pelvis, and the pelvis is lifting up, but it's tilting. So as your chest comes forward, right, there's this combination of forces. Good, and it might feel very intense, but squeeze your feet towards each other so the knees don't lock. Pull up through your low belly so your lower spine is protected, it's connected. Awesome, and then come all the way back up. Nice job, you guys. Good. Step the feet forward, top of your mat. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Exhale, bow forward. Beautiful. Step your feet back to downward facing dog. Nice. Slide forward to plank. Again, just your last stretch for the spine. Lower down slow to your belly. Good, bend your knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Press down through the tops of the thighs, lift head, neck, and chest for a cobra pose, lifting through the chest. So hands alongside your ribs. Yep, so cobra pose just with your knees bent. Press the thighs down. Good. Nice, and then slowly release and flip over onto your backs. Beautiful. Bend your knees, plant your feet. You're gonna take one bridge pose as your last active position. So arms alongside you, bend the elbows so that their fingers point up towards the ceiling. And that same feeling again of find your spine, right? So press down through the upper arms, press into your feet. Before you even lift up, send your butt towards your heels. Good, and then start to lift from your armpits. Rise up, rise up, rise up, and then lift your hips. Good. So the tops of the shoulders are rolling down to the floor, but your butt is pulling towards your heels. And your heels are pressing straight down, but they're also dragging back towards your shoulders. So there's a feeling of almost a circular energy in bridge. Maybe that'll be next week's pose, we'll see. Good. And then slowly release the hips down to the floor. Awesome, pull the knees in towards your chest, squeeze. Nice. Scoot your hips over to the right, please. Drop your knees to the left, spinal twist. Keeping the knees stacked on top of each other, knees up towards your belly a little bit more. Good. And then come back up to center, please. Scoot your hips over to the left, drop your knees to the right. There's also our ability, which many of us are not fully cognizant of, being able to let go of intensity once the moment is past, is to let it go. Come back to center, please squeeze the knees in, bring your forehead up to meet your knees and hug. Good. And then release the shoulders, please, stretching the legs out in front of you. Good. If you'd like to place something underneath your knees, that might feel really nice after you've done a lot of hamstring and back work. It can feel lovely to have a rolled blanket or a pillow underneath the knees. So Shavasana is your opportunity to rest. So really rest. Palms facing up, chest open, feet dropping wide. Very gently bring the awareness back to your breath, allowing the body to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and really pause there. You did a lot of extension, a lot of lengthening. So anything that allows the joints to be bent, to be squeezed, it's going to feel good. And then as you feel ready, roll to your right side and find your way back up to an upright seated position. So bringing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm, or any other mudra that's been serving you. What makes Parsvottanasana challenging, I believe, is not just the intensity of the stretch, because if we do nothing in the pose, then it feels incredibly difficult. And if we do everything that we can in the pose, then it still feels incredibly difficult because now we're engaged. But the sensation itself becomes a little bit less intense in the painful way. So this is what we're given, is that you can either be fully present, fully engaged, or not, and pain still exists. But when you are in that state of presence and you are aware of how those opposing energies are operating and you're part of it, your mind isn't running away, it's not shutting down, then you can bear that intensity with much greater calm. So Parsvottanasana is extending. It's extending in all directions, and it's doing it from the internal force of your own self. The same way, mindfulness is your mind doing that same process, extending beyond what it thinks are the limitations of its reactions. And we find that in that state, maybe the pain doesn't go away, but we find equilibrium. We find a place where we are balanced between reaction and awareness. And that's the state where then we can bear intensity and be calm. So that's what we're practicing, is not just can I lengthen my muscles, but can I lengthen my mind? Can I expand inwardly so that I can meet my life completely present, intensely and calm? We'll close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week until I see you again. Have fun with that pose. Again, my joke is that everybody complains about it until you've been doing a ton of like chair and quad poses, and then you go into Parsvottanasana and it feels so good. So, just keep that in mind. Anything that feels like it's really hard, there's the other side of it that will make it feel fantastic.
Thank
You're
you.
not done with
Great
yourself.
class.
Thank you.
Loosened it up.
Yay.
Made it easier.
Yay.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a hard pose.
It is.
Deceptively simple looking, but it's very challenging on the body in a lot of ways.
Yeah, doing all the other stretches helped me surrender at the end to the tightness in the muscle.
Yes, and I love that's what you did, is you surrendered to it. Yes. So good. All right. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you,
much. I gotta sign
Veronica.
off. I will see you soon. Tell all your friends. I don't know why everyone is not coming to this
I
class.
know. I'm going to pass the word.
Yeah, go bug people.
I saw that you, your description was
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, we're playing around with it, and I didn't intend for the title to get changed, but the title did get changed, so I don't know if that's better or worse, calling it Yoga 101 instead of Masterclass. I don't know.
I like the new website. It's so much better.
Yeah, it is, right?
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep me updated with what makes sense to people, and if the title is what was confusing people and now it's better, I'll leave it. Otherwise, I'll change it back to Masterclass.
For me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Great
I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.